courage and endurance is the most dramatic of rescues. That's certainly true of our next story, which began with men at work in a hole in the road, like this one. Routine maintenance that quickly changed into an emergency that tested the skills of the rescue services.
Yeah.
The job that day was to replace old gas pipes in a street in Huddersfield.
Oh, this is inside.
John O'Connell had been a gas fitter for 16 years.
You see film last night? Oh, stayed at the pub while kicking outside.
It was 24-year-old Stuart Siswick's first day on this job.
Saw him,
They and their workmate, Peter Kelly, had been good friends for years. All three men are played here by actors.
You got stillies?
Yeah, stay where you are, get them out.
It was Monday morning, about 8:30. Cold and wet. It'd been raining, but it had stopped raining. And I walked over to the van to get some equipment out of the van. I heard a screech, and I turned round, and I saw a wagon careering sideways, going towards the hole. I heard a loud noise of gas escaping, but it seemed to be very quiet and eerie at the same time.
Lads!
And I was just thinking, no, they can't still be down at all. And as we were getting nearer and nearer, I couldn't see no sign of them. I was just feeling the worst, really.
Are you all right, mate? Jesus Christ, you all right? Get this thing off me. Hang on, mate. Jock, talk to me, mate.
I just felt
Jock,
useless.
can you hear me?
Got two close friends asking you to help them. You can't help them. That did me head in a bit, really.
Sure, you all right? Call an ambulance, will you?
I could smell all the gas.
Hang on, mate.
Making a loud roar. If somebody had come and dropped a cigarette end near us, would have been up like, you know.
When we arrived, I could see that the front of the lorry had gone into the trench. One man who was in the trench had the weight of the lorry resting on his back.
Jock, can you hear me?
A second man was lying between the front wheel and the bumper bar. Both these men were in a desperate situation. They were obviously hurting very much, and I was very upset, actually, at the fact that we could not do anything for them at all. It was going to take a long, long time to set up.
You can't get my mates out of here. Leave your mate. We'll see to your mate. We'll look after him. Do it with the gas leak and go now. All right.
The fact that we had a major gas leak really had to take second place. We had to virtually ignore it. We had to concentrate on the two men in the trench.
Angela Smith arrived to help the two men. She was shocked by what she saw.
That's lovely. The thing that concerned me about Stuart was the fact that the leg could have been severed, and he had no feeling in it at all.
Right, John, give me this oxygen. Help get rid of that smell of gas.
John was complaining of pain to his chest.
Nice and steady, don't breathe too deep.
We thought perhaps it could have been something badly wrong internally.
Airbag coming in.
Jim O'Boyle and his team had to solve one huge problem. The lorry was very unstable. Its front wheel was hanging over the hole. If it moved, Stuart and John could be killed. The firemen used concrete slabs to try to give them a stable base for jacking up the lorry.
Jack, coming up.
Jim O'Boyle's plan relied on the jack being strong enough to support the lorry's weight, but he was in for a big disappointment.
We were going to use a very heavy 20-ton hydraulic jack to then jack up the underside of the wagon. And by using airbags on the far side of the wagon on the pavement edge, hopefully this would give us a stable and a straight lift.
Replace airbag. All right, Steve. Stick you for that.
That's all right, yeah.
Easy.
Nice and steady.
It was a slow, painstaking job. The lorry had to be raised just an inch at a time.
No, it's not going to work. This base is insecure. It's going to topple over onto one of these.
I was absolutely devastated,
Right, lads.
and I had to really then think again, and we had to start again on that side of the rescue.
The hastily rearranged plan meant the firemen were going to have to rely on airbags alone to try to lift the lorry off Stuart and John.
Easy, nice and steady. Keep it coming. Keep going. That's got it out. Lift. On my command, but steady. Lift.
To me, this was the worst moment of the job since we arrived. If it didn't work, then we were really going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
The lift took place very gradually,
More on that side.
and I'm glad to say that wagon came up very straight.
Keep going. Steady. Steady. Rest.
1, 2, 3.
I was so very, very pleased and thrilled when I heard the first man had come out. Couldn't believe it. The battle was, well, if not won, at least half won, and I knew very well that having reached that point, we'd got the job cracked.
Well, it wasn't just a case of dragging them out of the hole. It was a case of bringing them out in the right position. If they hadn't have been handled properly and safely, it's hard to say what the outcome would have been, but I think it could have been a lot worse than what it actually was.
I think everybody there felt absolutely tremendous relief. I was so proud of my crews and of everybody who was there, because all those people, they worked together as one big team, and they were magnificent.
I just remember as we were bagging a main off, cutting a main off for insertion at new pipe, and I just heard this screeching sound, you know, like a skidding sound. So I just looked up and 38 ton were coming at me.
I never felt the actual impact of the vehicle. I didn't even know it was a wagon. It was like as if someone punched me from behind. I thought someone had smacked me first.
I did think I was going to buy it, like I thought I was going to die, but you can't think like that, you know what I mean? If you think like that, you've had it, haven't you, really? So you concentrate, and you know that if you're breathing, and you can keep breathing, you're going to be all right.
I was in more pain when I got pulled out. I felt the physical pain when the actual vehicle was lifted.
The trauma didn't end there for John and Stuart. They faced a future which would test their courage to the limit. The staff at Huddersfield Royal Infirmary found that John had a broken pelvis. Stuart had a number of injuries, including a broken back. He was immediately transferred to the spinal injuries unit at Pinderfields Hospital nearby, where he was to hear some sobering news.
I remember that one day, you know, the physio came round, and me and another man, Ali, were joking about, you know, he was moaning. And I says, well, you know, don't worry about it, in a couple of months' time, we'll be up chasing each other around ward. And they just turned around and said, well, that's not going to happen, you know. You're not going to walk again, you know. That's when you realise that nothing's going to happen. It scares the life out of you. I just don't want to talk to no one on anything.
My heart just dropped, and it really got to me. And I was thinking, his whole life ahead of him is ruined now. He won't be able to walk.
When I first heard that Stuart wouldn't walk again, I didn't know what to say. Just stayed up at the roof, thinking, or trying to think back to the actual accident. Could have been something else we could have done. Could I have prevented it? All right. And then back on it.
John had his own problems. He faced months of intensive physiotherapy to try and strengthen the wasted muscles in his legs.
Good. And again. Go on.
I had to use the whole of my body weight to even pull myself up onto a 1-inch block of wood. And they asked me to do 10. And after 5, I asked them, do you mind if I stop? It was just that hard. That's when I finally knew now it wasn't just going to be back to work in a couple of weeks. It was going to be a long, long time.
The first glimmer of hope for Stuart came 6 weeks after the accident.
I looked down at my feet and my toe moved. Just without me consciously moving it, my toe moved. I moved it again. And then, I realised it was me that were moving it. It wasn't a spasm or anything.
He said, do you want to see something? And I thought, here we go now. And he just moved his foot, and I think I gave him a great big kiss.
I felt like jumping up and dancing with someone or something. And then a bit of movement came in my leg.
Right, 5 more, OK?
In the early days, when Stuart, I think, was destined to be in a wheelchair, he was a difficult patient to work with.
Keep it going.
And in fact, at the end of the day, because he did have this rather aggressive, hard-working attitude, that's the one thing I think that's helped him.
That's even better.
You just feel you're not going to get any better than what you are at that time. So it drives you mad.
That's it. That's good. Just think you're on skis.
But that were a good thing in a way, because inside you hate it, doing it that much. You want to progress on to the next thing.
It takes up to 100.
The increase in my muscles and ligaments is immense. It's great, because I still know there's a bit to go, but at least I know now I'm over the quarter-way mark to actually get to where I want to be.
One day, it could be tomorrow, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 10 years. It's going to stop. You're not going to get any better. First they said I wasn't going to walk, then they said, well, I might be able to play piano with my toes. And now I can get up and walk, so no complaints.
When he came to us, he was totally paralysed. And he's had to recover power and strengthen his legs.
Keep your back straight and let that leg come back into extension.
He's had to get back to walking. Could have been in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, and that would have been so easy.
Makes you look at life in a totally, completely different way. And you appreciate life more, you appreciate things around you more, people around you more.
It's just unbelievable. And it's nice just to say the 2 small words of thank you to them all.
The fact that Stuart can walk again is a big weight off my own shoulders. Because I always feel a sense of guilt. And it should, you know, it could have been me down that hole.
Lily.
Every time I look at Stuart and look at John, I know I'm looking at a good friend. And I'm just looking forward to that day when it can all 3 go out together. Without no sticks, wheelchairs. And go out for a drink.
There are just 13 helicopters in the United Kingdom on standby for search and rescue work. Though, of course, other RAF, Navy and Coast Guard aircraft can be scrambled if it's an extreme emergency. But basically, it's down to those 13 crews. 3 people in each crew, a pilot, a navigator and a winchman who's often a diver. And they all know that they could be the last hope for somebody who's in trouble. They all have to have complete trust in each other's abilities, a trust that's often built up over years of training and working together. Sometimes they almost have to be able to read each other's minds. The Royal Navy crew in our reconstruction had worked together on many rescues, but on this occasion they had no idea that the job would require such pinpoint accuracy. No idea either that it would make demands on them that they'd never experienced before.
As soon as the buzzer goes, one's heart tends to double its heart rate.
It's all not quite make it up as you go along, but you have to pretty much think on your feet. Its battery's on, hit the start, and we're away.
We're friends, known each other for a long time. We train as a crew, practice as a crew, socialise as a crew even, and on the day of the race, you know, work well as a crew.
It's absolute exhilaration, pulse racing, adrenaline flowing. You're there doing the business.
The team were heading for Anvil Point, a sheer cliff face on the Dorset coast, popular with climbers. Linda Price had fallen 50 feet and badly injured her neck and spine. She was still hanging on the end of her climbing rope with the tide rising.